All right, this is it. Officially starting my solo live stream. And my name's Andy Schwam. How are you? If you're watching, I don't know if anybody's watching. This is the first time, and maybe that's a good thing because I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm excited to try this out and figure out what's going on. I got lots of stuff I'm trying to keep an eye on here. My ADD is really going to be kicking into high gear. I've got like a few different screens going on where I can monitor different things, and mostly I want to make sure I look at the camera, I look at you, and so what is going on here? So this is my my personal stream where I will be trying to build some software and trying to put into practice all the things that that I appreciate in software, design practices and patterns and things like that. And I think let's see, Michael's on the stream now. How you doing, Michael? I'm totally new to this, trying to figure this out, what's going on. So anyway, so the whole purpose of this is to write some code, and I'm a little rusty at that, actually. So I should say that right off the bat. A little rusty at writing code because I'm in a management role these days, and so I don't write a lot of code. But I want to use this to document a lot of ideas and stuff. So I think the only thing really that I should really be doing. Let's see, and I've got buttons over here that I can push, and let's see. So this is my desktop. Oh, we don't need that. Okay, so let's see. What I need to do to get this whole thing started is close that and look at my GitHub. Oh, you know what else is something I want to do before I do anything? Hey, Michael says, great. Looking forward to this. Thanks. I wish I had some idea how to make these alerts pop up when someone says something. I have no idea how to get that sound ping in my ear. And so if I don't see it, so that's on my to-do list. I have to figure out how in the world I find out if someone asks me a question or has a comment in the chat. So, but before I do anything else, I just remembered that I didn't turn on. It was on my list of things to do. That under where? How do you get to extensions? Let's see, tools, settings, maybe. Extensions. This is it. I want to turn on Azure Mask so I don't forget to do that. That'll hide some stuff from my browser window when I get into Azure. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a repository to keep some code in. Again, this is day one. I have no code to work with, and I want to build up a code base for the purposes of this stream and other demos and things like that. So so I think I had a note of what I wanted to call this thing. Naming things is like the hardest part if you're a developer like me, and this is the kind of, well, you know, it's just always hard. Like, what do you want to call things? And so I think if you get the naming right, it makes a big difference down the line. But Alvinium is now following. Thanks, Alvinium. How are you? Let's see, stream. So I'm going to call this repo Schwammy.stream.website, and that just seems like a good idea. And then I can have a little bit of a hierarchy of other repos that for Schwammy Stream, and then the first one will be the website. So let's see. I think I want to put a git ignore in here. I usually go down and grab Visual Studio. Now the one thing is, talk about things I'm not really that used to doing. I'm not that much of a GitHub user. I tend to use Azure DevOps, and I use Git inside of Azure DevOps. So some of this is a little unfamiliar to me. I have a Git repo. I just don't use it a whole lot. So, you know, figuring it out. I don't know about licensing because I'm totally clueless with that kind of stuff. So I think I'm just going to leave no license in here and probably come back and put it in there. And I guess I should have a README in there. All right, so I'm going to create my repo. Ta-da! Wait, watch this. Ready? Some sound effects. Hopefully that's coming through. I have no idea if any of this stuff works, but I have some sound effects, and I have, I'm just trying to have some fun with this and make this interesting. So, all right, my first successful thing, I created my repo. So now I need to, of course, clone this repo, and I'll take this URL. I guess that worked because it didn't give me a thing. And I'll go into Visual Studio now. I'm going to try to use Visual Studio and VS Code as a mixture of things. For now, I'm going to start. Oh yeah, Alvinium, you heard the applause. Okay, that's cool. Hopefully you guys will like my silly sound effects that I have. And hang on, I'm just peeking around this thing to see. There's a lot to. What is this? Why is this coming over? That's weird. Oh, that's my, okay, duh. It's hard to get used to like all these different screens and looking at things and the stuff that you're, all right, so, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I got my repo location and my local path. I put things into repos, and I guess I'll go with that whole full name there and clone my repo. And let's see, Visual Studio is opening on the wrong screen. Let's bring that over here. The interesting thing is going to be how well does this my rig work. So I've got a Stream Deck running, I've got OBS running, I've got some windows with the chat, and I've got Visual Studio, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how well everything hums along. So let's see. So what I don't have in here is a solution, right? I've got a, so if I look, let's see, let's go to Open in File Explorer. We can see that there's really nothing in here. Let's see, make this smaller here. So my goal for today's show is to, like I said, just to get a basic website set up that I can play around with and write some code in. And check that code in and maybe even have a build and push it out to Azure. Let's see. I don't want to get too crazy with this. So let's see. I don't usually do this way. I want to do this, I think, right? Well, let's see. So I want to create a new solution, which is something I don't normally do in this mode. So I think I'm going to go to new solution. I think there's a way to do new. See, I'm already off to like screwing this up. So this will be a project. Is there a solution file? There's no solution file in here when I got this from here. So I think the easiest thing for me to do is actually close this. Right? Let's see if this works. And I'm going to open up Visual Studio. Usually when I do cloning, I do it from a command line, and I want to try out different things and see how things work. Again, usually I'll use like VS Code and I'll clone it and I can start creating things right away. In this case, I'm going to now, no, that's wrong. I want to create a new project. So what I'll do is I'm going to create a ASP.NET Core web application. And this should put it in the repos where I want to put it. So what was that crazy long name? This one here. So that's going to put it in the right folder. I'm going to call this, oh, I had a good name for this and I already forgot what I wanted to call it. Let's see, wait. I'm looking at my notes because I had this, I don't remember. I had a good name what I was going to call this thing. So I like to have, let's just call it stream.demo.website.web. And so in this solution, well, this is the solution name. And so I'll take off that and it'll be the stream demos, right? Stream demos will go in the solution. And this particular project is going to be the website. Now, I eventually anticipate having multiple front ends. I'm going to build out an API, and I'm peeking around here again. Yeah, I know, it's distracting, right? I'm leaning around, I'm looking out of the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this web project. So I'm going to have an API, I'll have some back-end services, and I'll have eventually some different front ends. I'm going to start with just good old-fashioned web app, model view controller, just to get something up there, but I'd like to envision myself using the same API to create an Angular website, maybe a Blazor website, all kinds of different things. So I need to have a base for something to start with, and the stream needs a web page. So soon we'll have this awesome web page up and running. And if I did this right, I'm in master. Yeah, look at that, I did it. Okay, and so before I do anything else, I'm going to commit this. Well, I should run it, right? Make sure that it runs. It's going to be the plain old ASP.NET Core site. Nothing fancy going on here. And ready? Let's see if I can get this. And oh, it opened on the wrong screen. So that drum roll was like, you know, yeah. Okay, come on. Now again, all right, here we go. Okay, good. So right off the bat, this works. Okay, so I'm feeling good about that. I will check in my code. I'm going to try to follow best practices, right? First thing I do, create a solution, create and check in the changes. So I'll just say it is a website. So I'm checking that in, committing that into master, and then I'll push that up into the repo, and everything's good. Again, nothing too fancy and too exciting going on here today, but I have to do this. I have to get some of the basics out of the way. And it's interesting because I have to talk and code at the same time and try to keep this somewhat interesting. I don't know. Who knows? But I think it'll be certainly get more interesting as we get into some real world scenarios. So, all right, I've got that. And just for kicks, we can look up here and I should see that I have one commit. Let's see. Code verify. Let's see. It's a website. This is the one I just checked in. How do I see the? And in there, 52 changed file. So this is it. Okay, we're feeling good about that. Everything's coming up Millhouse here. All right, so I'm not going to get too crazy with this, but I guess I should set up this page so that it looks like something, because I'm actually going to deploy this thing to Azure, and this will be the website for the stream. So the idea here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a website, and I think for like simple demos, I want to have some data access and some methods and things like that. So I think what I'm going to do is build. I think what I'm going to do is build a website that lists the different episodes of the stream with the contents and the show notes and things like that, and sort of like a little library that'll be give us something to play with, at least for the beginning. So if you are watching, by the way, I should ask. I know I haven't done a whole lot yet. I know this isn't too exciting, but I should ask you to try to follow. If you're on Mixer or Twitch, please follow this stream. I'd appreciate that. And if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe, you can like the video, and all these videos will be archived on YouTube. And so I'm supposed to say stuff like that every now and then, like, hey, hit the like button or the subscribe button or whatever that is. All right, so what do I want to do on this thing? I have no idea. Let's go to this. Let's just put a logo on here. So let's just do welcome to Schwammy Streams. And I can get rid of this. And maybe I'll just put, I have to add like an images folder. God, I'm so rusty at trying to remember like how to do stuff. I guess I usually do something like add new folder. This is I'll just do something like that. I'll create an image folder, and then in here, I'm going to, you know what? Let's go. I have some image in the image. I'm going to use that same. I'm going to use this the image I use for my what do you call it, avatar, my awesome. Let's see. I want to go to. I think it's in here. Profile pics. Yep. I got all these funny old profile pics that I've used. My original, what do you call it? My original caricature that I used to use. I'm going to use this transparent one, I think. One's a ping, I don't know what the difference between these two are. Let's just try this. And got a follow on Twitch and Mixer. Yeah. Got a follow. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Always like a follow. Somehow, at one point, this is going to like light up. Like when someone follows, I think it's supposed to do something. I see that on all these people's, like, you know, when I watch on Twitch or I watch on Mixer, people follow. There's like, you know, fireworks or some kind of cool reaction. But I don't know how to do that, right? The other thing I don't know how to do, sirens and confetti. I know. Alvin, that's what I'm supposed to have, right? But I don't know how to do any of that stuff. So I have to find out how to do that. Another thing I need to find out how to do is how to rename the episode, I guess it's called, because right now it's called This Is a Test, which is not cool. And I went to the setting in here. I'm using Restream to stream out to 3 different things, and I went to the setting and I changed it to my first show, and that did not seem to have any effect. So much for that. That did not work. In any case, let's just put on an image. So I'll just say the image source, and I'll put my, I guess I'm supposed to put like alt on here, right? Schwammy's avatar, is that what you call these things? Avatar? I don't know, something like that. Okay, so let's see. I'll just, run that again just to make sure. And this is probably going to be good enough, and then maybe I'll put some coming soon. That's what I should write. Like more stuff is coming soon to this web page. Let's see. It went to the wrong page again. It's always going to do that. Oh my God, it's huge, right? Yeah, see, this is why you debug your work. This is why you check things. So let's go to... I know what I need to do, right? This is Bootstrap. I should remember how to do this thing. Oh my gosh, how to use Bootstrap. I definitely want to use like one of these classes, like an image class. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Bootstrap. Again, rusty on some of these things. What is it? Get Bootstrap? Or something like that? Getbootstrap.com. All right. Yeah. Examples. No. Documentation. Image. Because I don't remember how to do UI stuff. Image fluid to your image to make it more responsive. That might be what I'm looking for. Usually it's in, figure. I don't even know what that is. What about that? Oh my gosh. This is why I'm like worried about doing this, because I know I'm going to get on there. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just not going to remember how to do. I should know how to put images onto so image fluid. I should know how to do this. But that's the beauty of Google, right? We can just like look for things and find them and put them in. So the first thing is this is in a div. So what I really want to do, I'm going to get rid of this out of here. Let's drag this down. Come on. All right. Let's do something like div class equals call for, I'll just start with call for medium, something like that. And I think that is what I'm supposed to be doing. I tend to be more of a C# developer than a web developer. So that should, and then the other thing they were saying is put on this thing class equals image fluid. I thought it was responsive, but maybe it's image fluid now. I don't know what that does. Let's try that. Oh, and again, I forgot to write on there that I want to have more. How do I get this browser to open up on this window all the time? Why is it doing that? All right, well, that is so much better. Okay, it's huge, but that's okay for now. So I'm just going to put in, how about this? How about I do... what do I want to do? I want to do div class equals alert. Isn't it like alert info? Yeah, how about that? That'll be interesting. All right. And I'm going to say, don't worry more. This page will get better. And that's going to be, if I didn't totally screw that up, that's going to be what our website is going to look like. And again, opening on the wrong screen. Dun, da, da, da. Oh boy. Look how small that is. Is this thing zoomed in? Yeah, what's up with that? So that head is really too big. So let's just make this thing... well, you know, I'm just going to go old school and just do, well, you know what, who cares? Who cares? All right, so let's just leave it like this. And I'm going to check in my changes. And, okay, still looks terrible. Commit this. And I was thinking... that maybe I would do all this stuff off the stream. I would just build this basic website and give myself something to work with. But then I thought, well, if I have to build it, why not just stream myself building it? I've got minimal viewers right now, so you got to suffer through this. But let's push that change up. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to Azure Devops, and let's get this out into Azure. So at least it's a website that can be seen and have some fun with that. I do a lot of work with Azure lately. In my role, I do a lot of Azure, do a lot of Azure DevOps and things like that. It still doesn't mean I'm any good at it, but we'll see. So I'm going to go to dev.azure.com, and I guess said I was going to log out of my things. This is like work. I don't want that. I want to go to this. Okay, so I'm going to go to, where the heck is my, what is this thing? Here we go. Okay, so in the demos project in Azure DevOps, I'm going to create a new pipeline. So this will sort of build my app, even though there's really nothing to build. So, and then I'll do a deployment out to Azure. So let's see. First thing I want to do is I want to go to GitHub and get my code. So what is this telling me? I want to authorize, yeah, this is what I want to do. And what is that? Organization access. This organization allows the application to access organization. I don't even know what that means. Gotta love LastPass, by the way. There's a plug, right? LastPass hooked me up with all my passwords. So here's my repository. So I'm going to choose this new repository. My phone's buzzing here. I don't know why. Keep an eye on that in case something important going on. So, approve and install Azure pipelines. Well, I never did that before, but I guess that's what I need to do. Select repositories. Yeah, let's just say all repositories. I don't know. Let's see. Should I do select repositories? I guess I should just do that one for now and figure out what comes next afterwards, but this seems limiting. It's always good to not go crazy with stuff. And it's asking me to log in a whole bunch of times, which is interesting. So let's just see if this doesn't turn into a disaster. You signed out of your account. I don't know why. I knew something like this was going to happen, right? So I've got a whole bunch of accounts. And what I'm going to do is try to go to dev.azure.com. I'm going to let's see, it says sign out. Let's sign in. Because, see, this is work. So I'm going to go to sign out of. How do you sign out? Sign out. Okay. I'm just going to sign out of Azure DevOps and make sure I clear that out. Okay. And it says close all browsers, so why not? Let's close all browsers. Let's come back in here. It always opens on the wrong page. So, what was I doing? dev.azure.com. Sign into Azure DevOps. Hopefully this is going to get me back to where I was. So I've got a couple different things. This is Azure DevOps, lots of stuff going on in here. And under pipelines, my guess is that I have to start this over again. So let's do GitHub. I'm connected, which is good. So that whatever I did was working, and I connected. And I'm going to do an ASP.NET project. Now, this is using the new YAML model, which I like. Takes a little getting used to. This is ASP.NET. This is ASP.NET Core. This is the one we want to use because this is a .NET Core project. And if you've never done this before, some interesting stuff going on here. So first, what it did is it created this YAML, yet another markup language. It's good and bad, in my personal opinion. I mean, it's a text document, basically. You can screw this thing up fairly easily. It's based on the fact that you have to use dashes and spaces, and like that actually counts. And if you don't indent things correctly, then that causes trouble as well. But let's see what it did. So it created this YAML file for me. The interesting thing is this YAML file is going to get... look, it says you selected a public repository, but this is not a public project. Go to project settings. Yeah, I knew that actually, but I don't know if that matters. So what that's saying is my repo is public, but my Azure DevOps is not public. I think that's going to be okay for now. I don't know if I need to have it be any different. Let's see. Just checking on a couple things, making sure things are humming along. Okay. So what do I have here? I've got trigger, means it's going to be triggered off of master branch in my repo. This is the type of build agent it's going to use. The pool is going to be the Windows latest. The certain variables that the build needs to do, it's going to build the solution file, any CPO and release mode. First task in here. So now we have a bunch of steps. The first task is to install NuGet. Obviously, I need NuGet to install packages on in my projects. Then this one actually triggers NuGet and says, go ahead, NuGet, and restore all NuGet packages within the solution. Then there's this, and maybe I can, oh, you know what else I want to do? I got to add this to my notes. I I should go and set up Zoom It. Zoom It is awesome. Zoom It's been around forever. Yep, Zoom It is working. Okay, even though it wasn't a very good Zoom. I can also, well, some of these things are going to be hard to change the size on. But in this case, well, I got that stupid hover thing. Let's see. So in this case, now it's going to do a build, right? It's going to run VS build. This is a task name. It's called VS build, which is one of the built-in tasks into Azure DevOps. I'm going to build a solution, deploy on build equals true, web publish mode package. It's got some basic settings that are probably going to be good for what I want to do. And then the last thing is it's going to run my tests, which I don't have any in here yet, but I think that's okay. Now this really does look small. Am I zoomed in again? No, I'm not zoomed in, but I can make this bigger. Let's see, can I? All right, let's try that. That's got to be a little bit more readable. And so when I do this, so what's really cool about this is it says save and run. So you can see what's going to happen is it's going to put it into GitHub. It's going to take this file. It's going to call it Azure Pipelines YAML, and it's going to put it in. And if I save and run it, that's fine. Commit directly to master branch. I don't have any branch policies on here to disallow that, and I will soon. That'll be one of the things I'll work on, will be branch policies. So, okay, it's kicking off, and this is always going to be the fun part. So, hey, while we're here, let's think about what we can talk about. My goal is to run this show Wednesdays at noon Eastern Time. That's, I think, -6 on, global time. What do you call that? So I think it's -6. Universal, let's see, Eastern Time, UTC, offset, yeah. So it's 5 hours, 5 hours behind UTC. So -5. So I'm going to run this thing. We're going to try to do this every day. Basically, this is lunchtime for me. And I'll try to do this show Wednesdays at lunch. Now, next week already is the holiday. But I just wanted to get this thing started. So I'll be off next week. I'll be skiing, if all goes well, next Wednesday. And after that, I will resume the show. I think the following Wednesday might be New Year's Day. So that's questionable. But it's important to have a cadence for these shows. I understand that. But I wanted to just get this thing started today. So Wednesdays at noon, I hope you'll join me. I hope you will ask questions. Hope you will leave comments in here and follow /like/subscribe on whatever platform you're watching, using Restream to stream out to Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube. And so my build finished. Of course, it doesn't really do anything, but the build has finished. So what I want to do is I want to deploy it. And of course, that's not really going to be, it's not really deployable as it is right now. So let's see. Now I have to remember how the heck I do this. So, what's this? Your account, resources. I guess because it just checked that in, it's going to ask if it can see that. Interesting. Okay. So one of the cool things about some of the tooling here in this YAML stuff is that there's these tasks on the side, and they have settings. And it was actually kind of surprising to me the way they interact in these things in this web UI is fairly cool. So if I wanted to, for instance, take a look at the trigger, let's look at one of these ones that has settings. So NuGet command, I click settings, and look what it does. It brings over it. I don't even know how they're doing this. It's pretty cool. It brings up this settings window, even though this is just YAML, this is just a browser. I can get over here and I can look at various NuGet commands, and I can do restore, pack, push, right? I can do different things, and I could set values in here. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. For the build task, I can do same thing. Here's my arguments. Sure, I could type them in here. But this is going to give me more options, and if I fill in more options, I guess this part, let's see. If I filled some of these things in, it would then populate on the page here. So now I have to remember how to add these packages this web app that I just published, and I have to add it to the output of the artifacts. And so I'm going to try and see if I can remember. Copy and publish build artifacts is deprecated. Use the build artifacts instead, it said. Let's try that. Build. Says, oh, sorry. It says use the copy files task and the publish build tasks. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to go to copy files task. Okay. And now the tricky thing is it's going to go in wherever I put this here. So I'm going to do this at the end. And the source folder, they're not going to give me any help on that. Let's see. Use variables and files. Source folder that the copy pattern will be run from. Empty is the root of the repo. I think I want to go to the publish location here and see the desktop build. I don't know why it's called desktop build. Package location is the artifact staging directory. So I think this is what I want, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to say, like, for now, copy everything. And the target folder, this doesn't seem right. Because it is the artifact staging directory. That can't be right. Gosh, now I don't remember how to do this. This is where, like, if people were watching this stream, somebody could help me. I've done this a million times. Well, I've done this enough times. But it's one of those things you do it like every couple months and then you forget. This is real world scenario here. So I could just Google it. Let's see. I'll just do Azure build pipeline, copy web app to not artifacts. Well, let's just do copy artifacts. Maybe that'll. Let's see what this one says. So as it is, you can see that I don't know what I'm talking about. There is, I could look at an existing one. I'd have to think of one that I have. Oh my. Let's see. What is it called? I want to basically set it up so that I get the artifacts will show up after I do the build. Let's see, Azure build pipeline, copy artifacts, publish build artifacts task. I want to find something new because they said some of those things were deprecated. Let's see if this does have what I'm looking for. So this is steps publish, artifacts, not exactly what I want, I don't think. I'm like totally blanking out. First show, I don't remember what I'm doing. Let's see. All right, how about this? How about share, build, artifacts with release pipeline. This is actually what I want to do. I want to make them accessible so that they're so this is what I want to do. I want to publish build artifacts. But maybe this is all I need to do because maybe this will just work. This might be easy. Maybe I don't need to do any extra steps. So let's cancel this. Let's just do publish. Since my stuff's already in the artifact staging directory, maybe all I need to do is publish from the artifact staging. This is what I want, right? This is the drop folder. This is exactly where I want to go, and I want to do it in Azure Pipelines. So assuming the stuff I want is in the artifact staging directory, I'm going to be fine. Now, often you have to use a copy and a copy files task to move certain files to a place where you can get them. I have a feeling this is going to work. So, and this will call it a drop. This is what I've done many times. Alv's no help on Azure DevOps web stuff. Yeah, that's okay. I'll get through this. It might just be me and you watching this thing anyway. If anybody else is still around, if Michael's still hanging in there, I don't know how many people were watching. So. This is the lucky part about, being a noob at this, is I can screw these things up in the beginning. So, it's running now, and this is where I have, well, hang in there, right? Take a drink. So, I don't know. Ace here! Michael's hanging in there with me. All right. I like that strong... yeah. Thank you. Thanks for hanging in there. All right. VS Build. Again, the whole point of this is to get this website out, and I'll have an API that goes along with it that'll get deployed. And then, once that's there, I can start writing some code, start playing around with Azure, start doing some different things that I want to do and that I want to demonstrate. So a couple of things I want to talk about on this show. And let's see, I got some notes over here for some topics while this thing is building. So I hope to, hopefully pretty soon we'll do release pipelines with ARM templates. I find ARM templates pretty interesting. I find one of the things I want to do on this show is talk about things that I've worked on, even though you can see I don't know them like by memory. I've worked on these things. I've done this. But I want to get into the problems that have come up. So, you go to a demo and someone says, oh, yeah, ARM template's really simple. Well, I got news for you. It's not that simple, right? Deploying web apps to Azure seems really simple. Is it really? Are they secure when you deploy them by default? How do you do host names? How do you do all this stuff via ARM templates? So those are the kind of things I want to talk about on the Azure side. I also want to talk about Azure policy and things like Azure Functions versus Azure Web Apps and things like that. Recently at work, been working with hybrid connections. Hybrid connection, again, this is one of those real world scenarios that I want to talk about. A scenario like where we're not pure Azure at my organization where I work. We have a data center still, and we have to have Azure resources access resources in the data center. And so I want to get into exploring options for that kind of stuff. Again, these are the things that we found were difficult when we switched to Azure. It's like, great, the demo was really cool. We're going to Azure. Now we run into problems like, we need to have secure access into our data center. And it's actually not that hard to do once you know how to do it. So I'm going to show some of that stuff. And I was thinking about, all kinds of different ideas. Anyway, this thing worked. And now in Artifacts, I have a drop folder. And in the drop folder, I have my web app. So hopefully this is going to work. So the next thing I want to do is create a release pipeline. Okay. Now, let's see. Got to do a couple things. So I don't have a web app to deploy this to yet. I like to use ARM, but I don't think this is the time to start with ARM templates. By the way, if you're not familiar with ARM template is a way to, it's basically like infrastructure as code. And it's a way to represent the things you want to have in Azure, the resources you want. ARM is an Azure Resource Manager template. So I can say I want a website, a web app, and I want it hosted on this kind of plan, and I want this to be the web address, and all kinds of settings, right? And you could do that. You could save it as an ARM template, and you can use that in deployments. We'll get into that stuff. We're just not going to get into it right at this moment. So what I want to do is go into my Azure portal. Hopefully, yeah, Azure Mask seems to be working. So I'm going to create a resource group. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to do something that might seem a little complicated, but it's going to lead to things in the future. And that is that I'm going to use somewhat complicated naming convention for my resources. Again, this is a real world scenario. I've learned that once you start putting a lot of things in Azure, things get complicated really fast. And a good naming convention is something that can really help make things more discoverable and more organized in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a resource group, and I'm going to call this the Stream Website. A resource group is basically a collection of resources in Azure, sort of a bucket that you can use to organize things. So with that, I'm going to take this and I'm going to name it -RG. Okay, and that will stand for, that is a resource group, and that way I can look at this resource group and tell what it is. And the last part I use a 3-part naming convention, sometimes 4, believe it or not. In this case, it'll be 3. And so then what I do is I put the environment. Okay, again, real world scenario is what I want to focus on. So in real world, you don't just deploy right out to Azure. You have a QA environment, a UAT environment, a production environment, etc. The first thing I always deploy to is an environment called systest. Systest is just where my continuous integration goes, where we can test it even before we've given it to QA. Again, we're going to pretend that there's a QA when I build applications here. We're going to pretend that we have all these different things. So I'm going to create this resource group with that name, that long name. Now it seems long, but it becomes helpful as things get more complicated. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some tags. Tags are a mechanism for keeping track of things in Azure as well. It might be a little redundant, but I'm going to put a systest tag on for environment. And these environments, these tags, you can make anything you want. I have a few in here already that I've used. So I'm going to do one for owner. And again, I do this as so I'm going to call the owner stream. In other words, these are going to be all resources that belong to my stream projects that I build on the stream or something like that. At work, we do this as teams. The owner wouldn't be an individual, it would be a team. What's really great about that is you can query by these tags and you can find out, hey, we've got thousands of resources in Azure. Like, who does this thing belong to? Who do I go to check with to find out if it's in use? And then I can make up anything I want here, right? I can make any kind of tag. These are just a few tags that I have already. Okay, and how do I delete that? Okay, so I'm going to now create my resource group, and it did that. And you can see that some of these things I'm following a good convention in here, and some of them I'm not. Next, I'm going to create an app service. So I'll create an app service in here, and I'm going to add one. Now, this case, I'm going to use an even more complicated naming convention. You're going to think, wow, Schwamm's crazy. Well, that's true. That is true, but I'll tell you why I'm crazy. So in this case, the name for a web app that I have to create is global. Has to be globally unique. It's going to turn it into a URL, whatever I put in there, .azurewebsites.net. And so it has to be globally unique. And so if I wanted to say like test, there's a good chance that's taken already, right? So test is taken, and I'm willing to guess that stream is taken, right? I mean, who knows, right? And stream website might even be taken. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But I don't want to take any chances with that. That's actually available, right? So let's just say I follow this pattern and I call this a service. This is going to become an app service. So my naming convention says use the same naming convention, use the type of a resource I'm going to create, and then the environment. So I do that, right? So while my naming convention, stream website service, systest might seem pretty unique, it might not be, because if I had something where I was calling it the admin website, and it was admin.service.systest, Look at that. That's available, right? But somebody else somewhere in Azure land might be creating something called admin service QA, right? They already have that. Now, in this case, they don't, okay? But hang in and bear with me. On anything that's public, that's globally unique, I put another identifier on it. It's available if you misspell site. Is that what I did? Did I misspell site? That's funny. I didn't even notice that. That's great. So I'm glad people are paying attention. So I add another attribute when something is globally unique. And so in this case, I'm going to say it's stream website dash service dash systest. And then I want to put in something like Schwammy, like some kind of unique identifier. That means it's definitely unique, only has to be unique sort of within my scope. I've been putting it at the beginning. I'm toying with moving that to the end here just to make it easier to find things. Maybe I'll even try that now. Let's see how that looks. Sort of like an extra namespace, right? So you're sort of in the Schwammy namespace within Azure.net. Anyway, I had Stite. Oh, nice. So that's classic. All right. Well, let's see. So I'm going to do this. Is going to be .NET Core 3, I guess is what I created. I wasn't really paying attention when I created it. This is going to create an Azure app, and then an app service plan is the next thing I have to decide. I'm going to create a new app service plan. An app service plan, you know, people talk about the web. People talk about the cloud, and it's like magical, and it's just this big cloud, and you don't have servers. But of course, web apps need to run on servers. So what ends up happening is they are going to create a server for me, a web server for me. This one would be free. Free's not going to work for what I want, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new one, and I'm going to call it Stream. I'm going to call it Stream Website dash ASP, stands for App Service Plan dash Systest. Okay, now hopefully this will be okay. Got to be careful because some of these things, they start costing money. It switched it to S1, standard 1. Where's the pricing tiers? Let's go here. I'm going to be, I have to go to, yikes, right, I'm going to production level. It's $43 a month. That's not right. There's another cheaper one. I want basic one, I think. Basic one, custom domains. I think this is the one I want. So I'm going to use a basic, where's the price in there? $32. I thought I could get to, D, shared infrastructure, custom domains. What do I get? I mean, I can always upgrade it. So you know what? For now, let's just put it on the free one because I want to get this thing done and I don't want to have to pay for it. So let's call that. And once again, App Insights. Let's enable App Insights. In order to do that, I have to name it again, and I'm going to use the same naming convention for my App Insights. So I'm going to call this Stream Website I call it INS for Insights, and this is on Systest. Okay, so I've done that, and now I'm going to add tags, and I'm going to add those same tags. Now the Systest tag feels redundant because it's in my naming convention, but there's actually a reason for that. And there's times when it's easier to sort things by tag and sometimes by name, so I don't mind a little overlap. And the owner is going to be, what do I call it, the stream. So fine. And now I'm going to create this stuff. And I've got 5 minutes left on today's stream. Well, maybe I'll go over a little bit. I don't know. I want to try to keep this to be, like, at least in my case, the lunch hour and time box this thing. I'll probably have a hard time keeping it to the right amount of time. So what I'm hoping I can do is quickly put my release pipeline together and deploy this silly little website out, and at least say that I did something. So here we go. It's trying to it's creating my. This is something I find myself complaining about a lot. Azure is building a web server for me basically, and setting up. You know, if it was me, it would be like creating a server. And a Windows server and setting up IIS and building a website, all that kind of stuff. And I think, I'm complaining. It's taking 30 seconds. It's taking a minute. Like this would be something that would be really hard to do. Not hard to do, but really time consuming. And we're so lucky to have things like Azure where things are really simple. So let's see. This thing is ticking along here. Shouldn't take much longer. Shouldn't take much longer at all. I'm just peeking around at some other screens I have here. And I have to sort of lean funny because I have a microphone right here. Let's see while this thing is going. This is my mic. Does it come into view? If I pull it up, I'll probably break the thing. Here's my mic. I've got the little, trying to be like semi-professional here. I've got some... Didn't spring for lighting. I hope the lighting is okay. I'm using like my own home lamps. Oh, it's almost done. Let's see. These are created. So lastly, I just need to wait for it to finish up. And so this is not the way I normally do things. I don't like to create resources in the UI. I like to create resources with those ARM templates that I talked about earlier. And I will be doing that soon, but not on today's show. All right, good. So that's done. So now that that's out there, I should be able to go back to my thing, create a release pipeline. And let's see if I did all this stuff right. Azure App Service Deployment is what I'm going to choose for my template. Okay. I'm going to call this stage sys because this is the first deployment I'm going to do, first place I'm going to deploy to. Okay. I need to add an artifact. Where does my artifact come from? It comes from a build in the project demos. And there it is. That's the resource. That's what I want to deploy. So in other words, it's going to get the stuff it's going to work with right out of that artifact. And it's going to come up with this long alias for it, but I guess that's okay. And it's going to even tells you here, it's the stuff that's in the drop folder. So I'm going to set that up. And now in here, I need to... Oh, I know what I didn't do. This might be trouble. I want to deploy my app service as an Azure connection type, but the subscription, I didn't create. I knew I should see. This is the kind of stuff so hard to get just set up with the basics on some of these things. In order to do this, I need to create a connection to Azure. Okay, remember Azure Devops is what I'm working on here. But Azure, they're not completely connected, right? They can work together, but they're not connected by default. And so I need to give my Azure DevOps pipeline permission to work in Azure. And you know what? Maybe what I'll do is I will go to my notes and say that the second show, I'm going to start with that because I think, I'll just call this too, create connection between Azure and Azure DevOps. Finish deploy pipeline. All right, so it doesn't look like I'm going to do that because I think that's going to take a little bit of time and I need to be a little bit more prepared. I've done that a few times. It's really not that hard, but I do want to do that. And so let's see. I guess I can't even really save this thing because it's kind of useless. So let's see. Sure, let's leave the page. So this is hard for me. If anyone knows me, this is going to be the hardest thing I'm going to run into every time I do this stream, which is to say I'm done. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it up there. I really appreciate people that have been live with me here, hanging in there with me. Let's give you guys all a round of applause there. I really appreciate it. This is fun. This is a big experiment for me, trying to figure out how this whole thing is going to work. But at least now I know what the next show is going to be, which is going to be connecting that release pipeline and then building out from there. Each show will build upon some of the things we've worked on in the past. Again, if you're tuning in on Mixer or Twitch, please follow my channel. And if you are watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And this is where all the archives will be. The archives will be in the YouTube channel, so it should be good. Wednesdays, look for me Wednesdays at noon Eastern time, which is UTC -5. And so if you're in Europe, it's just hopefully just after work, maybe 5, 6 o'clock, something like that. If you're in the East Coast, it's lunchtime. like me. And maybe we can call this a brown bag thing. You can bring your lunch and sit and watch me make a fool out of myself in front of. Thanks for congrats on the first episode, Alvin. Appreciate that. And with that, I think I'm going to close it. Let me just see. Oh, one other thing I should say real quick. If you're still hanging in there and you don't know about the Dev Talk Show, the Dev Talk Show is another stream that I'm a part of, usually Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the Dev Talk Show, where I'm on mixer.com/the Dev Talk Show. And I'll put that in here. Actually, I'll put that in the comments, right? This is mixer.com/the Dev Talk Show. And you can check out the Dev Talk Show where I work with Chris Gomez and Rich Ross. And we do a whole bunch of stuff. We do demos, we do talking. And for that one, the archives are at video.thedevtalkshow.com, which is, I'll just link to our YouTube page. But anyway, that is it. I wanted to get a quick plug out for that. More hard work I do. We'll be streaming live tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the Dev Talk Show. And hope to see you then. With that, I am going to figure out how to stop this thing. Thanks for watching.